Hey, Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And welcome to episode 385.
That's the one.
Welcome back to another episode. Hope you're all keeping well and safe. We hope you've managed to do something Doctor Who. How's a good one? Related.
Related.
Too slow again.
Yeah, I know.
Well, we hope you've done something Doctor Who related. Somebody picked me up on Twitter for that because we stated the obvious pretty badly last week. So last week we came back, didn't we? Our first episode back recording for a while.
Yeah.
And somebody, you know the intro. We're like, I hope you done something Doctor Who related, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And somebody said, well, we hope you've all done something Doctor Who related. Last week, Gordon Hudson. Hi, Gordon.
Hello, Gordon.
Hey, Gordon. And when I read that, I was like, yeah, you're absolutely right, Gordon. One stupid thing for us to say. Like the very first special had just gone out, The Star Beast. And there's us saying, we hope you've done something Doctor Who related.
That's our catchphrase. We have to say it. It's obligatory.
It's the old catchphrase, yeah, I guess. But so we hope you've done another solid week of Doctor Who stuff. Obviously, we hope you've watched the second special, which is a celebration of the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. Part 2 of the anniversary. Wild Blue Yonder. We're going to get onto our review of that shortly.
Yes, indeed.
Before we do, how have you been, bud? You had a good week?
I've been very good. Yeah,
Apart
been
from a little
good.
cold?
Yes, it's a little bit cold here this morning. Winter's setting in. Yeah, I've been good. I've been finally blitzing through a bit of my season 20 box set because now I know I'm way behind, but now I'm back in the UK. I've finally broken the seal on that, and I've been enjoying that a lot. I mean, you've probably seen all this stuff now, but gosh, it was great to like get home and dive into that, like the behind the sofas and the road trip. I remember you telling me I was going to love it, and it didn't disappoint. The road trip with Peter, Janet and Sarah. Oh, so much fun. And I love it when they go back to Amsterdam.
Oh, yeah.
I've been blitzing through that, which is great, and had a nice little thing turn up a couple of days ago, the illustrated Book of Rose. You know, they did one last year for the Daleks, so it's like a big hardback.
Yep.
And have you got it yet?
No.
I know you were going to get it.
Yeah, I've not got it yet, no.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Looks nice.
I don't know if it's the same illustrator, I should have checked, but as the Dalek one, but it looks similar. Yeah, it's lovely. It's really, really good. I was flicking through it last night, and yeah, it's great. It's just, I hope they do more of them. I just love the style. They have a very sort of, they remind me of the old sort of, I don't know, illustrated books that we used to get way back when. They're really, really nice. So yeah, that's a good little thing that I did this week. But apart from that, I haven't really been up to much, mate. It's been the week's been flying by. I'm just sort of gearing up, ready for, can you believe it, Crimbo. It's just around the corner. I can't believe it. I cannot believe it.
Yeah, everyone says that, don't they? When we get into sort of early December to mid-December, it's like, oh my God, hasn't the time flown by? Almost like a time machine.
Almost like a time machine.
Someone's picked us up at the beginning of October. No, the end of October. Normally when Halloween's out the way, that's when people start going nuts for Christmas, isn't it? Once Halloween's done, it's then full steam ahead for Crimbo.
Yeah, well, also because I've only been back a couple of weeks. I've only been back in the UK a couple of weeks, so I've had quite a bit to sort out since I got back, and I've sort of only really just now just sort of starting to sort of breathe a bit and think, right, okay, that's all done. You know, what's next? Oh, hello, Christmas. You know, it's like suddenly I'm thinking about that and thinking, oh, shall I bother to get the tree out this year? Because I have a little plastic tree. I remember last year it was quite a bar humbug actually. I was like, can't be bothered to get the tree out this year. And then I did. I caved and got it out. And I'm the same this year. I'm like, yeah. So yeah, but that's me, mate. What have you been up to?
Not a lot really. I've watched a couple of episodes of Doctor Who from 2005. I got the Blu-ray box set delivered last week.
Lovely.
Yeah, they've just reissued the series 1 to 4 and the specials in the new remastered stuff. So I've watched the first couple of eps of that. It looks really good, dude. It does. They have done a pretty decent job on it. So it doesn't look like it's not like a magic wand and it's made it look like 4K or anything that was filmed yesterday. Yeah. But it definitely does look a little bit crisper and cleaner, and they've cleaned it up a little bit. So, and it sounds really good as well. The mix is a lot better on these compared to yeah.
That's the thing that drove me mad, because I've obviously got the original Blu-rays that they put out, and the sound mix is just terrible. Like, you are constantly turning it up to hear the dialogue, and then the music starts and blows your speakers up. It drove me mad to the point actually that I very rarely watch them. I considered getting that new set actually, mate. I was thinking, do I need to buy them again, because I've got the original set, I've got the blimmin' steel books, but all of those are in the wrong frame rate, which kind of annoys me. I'm still paying all this money for a product that's faulty. So the BBC now finally get their act together and they're all in the right frame rate. And funny enough, I watched a YouTube video last night of what's been corrected, because I have got my eye on that set for Christmas, and I was like, do I want to quadruple dip again and buy them again? Is it worth it? And there were a couple of things in that video that they've corrected that really are tempting me actually. So they've corrected the children in need thing, so it's finally the proper version with the proper music and the cloister bells back, and the frame rate thing's a big thing for me. The sound was a big thing for me, so I am quite tempted by that set, mate. I wasn't over impressed with the artwork when they did reveal it. I thought, that looks a bit basic, but it's not the be all and end all. Like I say, I've got the steelbook, so it's not as if the artwork's a deal breaker. So if the discs themselves are actually much better, and it seems like they've improved quite a lot of the mistakes from the previous sets, looking at that video last night. So yeah, I'm tempted with that. I am tempted. Did you didn't have the originals, did you? And you got rid of your steelbooks, didn't you?
The original Blu-rays?
Yeah.
No, so I've got
series 1 to...
No, so I've got the steelbooks, but I just don't have the original box set of Blu-rays.
Oh, right. Yeah, see, I have, and I've got the steelbooks, so to buy it again is a bit thing. I'm going to ask Santa for it, but I don't know if I'll get it. Because I know I've had a few other things from Santa already this year, so I don't know if I'll get it, but at some point I'll probably pick it up, maybe in the January sale. Oh yeah, dude, it'll probably be on offer, won't it? Yeah. It does look nice. I'd say, I know this, as I said, about the packaging and stuff's a bit basic, but it does look quite a nice set, to be honest. Lovely to have them all in one box as well. Yeah, and it's a nice little compact set as well. It's not a big, not superfluous with all the packaging and whatnot. It's pretty good. Yeah. It just does what it says on the tin. I need to thank you.
You always do, mate. It's always,
I need to thank you, mate.
Thank me, come on.
No, I've got to thank you for something that I have done that's Doctor Who related this week, which I've only just remembered. Was last week you were talking about, it was talking about extras that's made me think of this. You were talking about stuff that was on the iPlayer, and this David Tennant thing where he's talking about the classic series and stuff. And I didn't know what you were talking about. So I went on the iPlayer and realised there's a lot on there that's been added that I didn't know about. So that thing with David Tennant, I watched that. I watched the Star Beast with a commentary with David Tennant and Phil Collinson and somebody else. I watched a few things that, I had no idea these had been added to the iPlayer. So cheers for the heads up on that, because it was really fun watching this stuff, and it's sort of slightly annoys me it's not been sort of put out there more, because I was saying to one of my friends, if I, a hardcore Doctor Who fan, is unaware of all this great content we've been getting for the 60th that's kind of just all been shoved on the iPlayer or on the radio, then no one else is going to find it. So
true.
Cheers for the heads up on that. I really liked the David Tennant thing. I loved it when he was watching Tom regenerate into Peter on this little laptop, because obviously he's very good friends with Peter Davison, being married to his daughter and stuff, and the banter that even though Peter wasn't there in the room, the sort of the quips that David Tennant was coming out watching that, I thought was just lovely. It was really nice to watch that.
No, that's a good
he's
one,
like, oh, doesn't he look young? And look at his highlighted hair and all this sort of stuff. It's a really good little watch that was. The only thing I haven't managed to see is the Channel 5 thing, Scandals of Doctor Who, which I can't imagine is that good anyway, but my internet isn't strong enough to play 5 extra or whatever it is, so I can't watch that one. I don't know if you watched it.
Oh, no. Yeah, I saw that, but I haven't seen that. It didn't look super appealing anyway, so yeah.
No, I can't imagine there's much on there I'd want to see, but I did try and play it the other day and my internet was just... Because I'm on very basic internet since I got back to UK. Me and Gary used to record with our cameras on, and we would dance during the intro. But now my internet can't handle it, so we have to turn the cameras off just to record audio. So I can't see if he's dancing, listeners, to the intro and to our podcast anymore. I'm assuming he is. But
definitely dancing, dude, without a doubt.
I would like to believe you are, but my internet's a bit basic, so some things I haven't been able to watch that we've got, like that Channel 5 thing, but hey, But the iPlayer stuff's really good, so cheers for the heads up on that.
Yeah, no worries, dude. Yeah, it's cool. And that little documentary of David Tennant is funny. That scene you mentioned, when he's talking through the regen from Tom Baker to Peter Davison, there's a bit where while he's commenting on those guys lining themselves up and stuff, he turns to the camera and he's like, not much has moved on between then and now. It's like, I had to do a very similar thing with me and Jodie Whittaker very recently, and it's pretty much the same sort of technique for doing that stuff. You had to line it all up and do that. So it was entertaining, but it was also really interesting as well. There's a few little cool nuggets that David Tennant dropped about filming like newer stuff. So yeah, it was good. It's a good one. That
you can the fan in him really comes out as well, because he starts off. What's this program called? For anyone who's listening who doesn't know,
I think it's called
about. There's like this little hour-long. What is it?
I think it's called Talking Who or Talking Doctor Who, something like that. Yeah.
And David presents it, and he starts off sort of in presenter mode. This is Doctor Who, and he goes through each Doctor. But as the program goes on, the sort of fan in him, he sort of seems to relax, and the fanboy in him comes out, and like he's talking about Adrian Gibbs, who played the Watcher, and I'm thinking only a fan would, someone who sort of knew Doctor Who would be. He's like, oh, in comes Adrian as the Watcher, and I'm like, it's just lovely to see him as a fan enjoying Doctor Who, as in between trying to present a show about it, if you like. So yeah, it's well worth a watch, that, listeners, if you haven't dived in. There's lots of clips from, chat shows and things where like Colin Baker and Peter Davison appear together on a chat show, and there's loads of clips like that from the BBC archives. It's a nice little, about an hour long, I think, isn't it? Something like that. Nice little hour long watch.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, and it only goes up to the classic era. Yeah,
if you're in the UK, it's on the iPlayer, but it's also on, if you're on just standard TV, it's still being repeated or on catch up on BBC 4. If you're in the UK, so give that a watch. And I love seeing David Tennant fanboy. After the Star Beast went out, we had Doctor Who Unleashed, which is the newer version, isn't it, of Doctor Who Confidential, the behind the scenes stuff.
Yes, yeah.
It was so cool to see him fanboying with the two writers of the original Star Beast, Pat Mills and Dave Gibbons.
Oh, when he got him to sign the comic, yeah.
Yeah, that was so cool, because he was absolutely genuine, wasn't he? He wasn't just doing that for the camera. You could tell his little face lit up, and he was absolutely thrilled to bits that these two guys were in front of him. That because he did say that he still has that edition of Doctor Who Weekly at home somewhere, doesn't he? He said, "I've still got it." I remember reading it and stuff. And yeah, I love seeing, because he's a genuine fan, isn't he, David Tennant? He's an absolute bona fide Doctor Who classic fan. So when you see him go off like that and fanboy, it's so cool. What a guy. He's so cool.
It's nice because he's done, we know he's a fan, but he's gone on to do so many other things. He's done so many TV and film, productions, that it's just great to see that at his heart, he still clearly loves the Doctor, and I would imagine absolutely still loves playing the part of the Doctor. And I think that's what I'm sort of seeing from these little behind the scenes things of him now. He's still that fan, isn't he? Underneath it all, even though he's a big TV star and even a film star, even, he's still underneath it all such a big Doctor Who fan, which is great to see. You just reminded me, actually, I haven't watched this week's Unleashed. I must watch that later.
It's a good one.
This is the thing. I was sort of moaning that there wasn't much content for the 60th a few weeks back. I was saying, it doesn't feel like the 50th. We haven't really got much this year. But actually, when you sort of dig around, there is some really nice stuff out there. It's just you kind of just got to look for it, I suppose, rather than it sort of being all out there on BBC One. You kind of got to search around. But there is some good stuff out there, isn't there, if you look for it?
You just got to look for it.
You just got to look.
That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some good stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, dude. Well, we have got one bit of news to chat through, haven't we? It's only a small nugget, so we'll get to that before our review. So, shall we land the old TARDIS and have a little chat?
Land it in our new console room. Oh, isn't it bright?
We'll have to dissect that at some point because due to cybermat, whatever, or circuit malfunction, I can't remember if that's the dematerialization or the materialization sound effect.
And someone will be pulling you up on that onto it next.
Yes, yeah, we've already had that a couple of times in the past, haven't we, over the years?
Yeah.
I like your podcast. It's very entertaining, but have you noticed that in your intro at precisely 2 minutes 45, the sound effect is correct that you've used there, but fast forward to the news segments at 12 minutes 47, and yes, I've noticed it's the wrong sound effect. So if you can correct that, please, I'll listen next week.
Oh, dear.
All right, will do, mate. No worries.
Yeah, if you could.
Yeah. Sorry, the news, right. We have some deets.
You sounded like, who's the character from Greatest Show? Is it the bellboy? Who's the fan in Greatest Show? It's him.
Oh,
with the glasses.
Yeah, the glasses,
No, it's not bellboy, is it? It's, anyway, him. You sound like him.
Right, we have some news for the upcoming Christmas Day special. So it was announced officially recently by the BBC that it was going to be on Christmas Day, but now we've got some deets, and the title for the episode is The Church on Ruby Road.
Oh,
which sounds rather good. So a little bit of blurb on this one. So long ago on Christmas... Oh, I love that. Long ago on Christmas Eve, a baby was abandoned in the snow. Today, Ruby Sunday meets the Doctor. Stolen babies, goblins, and perhaps the secrets of her birth.
Ooh.
And we've got some new images. We've got some images released for this as well. So we've got a couple of new pics of Shooty looking very Christmassy out in the snow with some lights around the tree and all that stuff. A new image of Ruby, and Davina McCall is in this one as well. So we've got a picture of her and a picture of a wee little goblin, which looks rather cute, which is giving me the Hobbit vibes, I'll be honest, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah, I was going to say Harry Potter, but yeah, either of those, I think it's definitely got those vibes.
Yes, yeah. Davina McCall is going to be guest starring, one of the guest stars in this one, says, "It is beyond an honour to be asked to appear in not only Doctor Who, but also Shooty's first episode as the new Doctor. It was such an extraordinary experience, and Russell has written you all a Christmas delight. Now I just can't wait for everyone to see it." And then Russell goes on to say, "From day one in this job, I wanted Doctor Who back on Christmas Day. And with Shooty, Millie, Davina and the Goblin King, I hope it's a feast for all the family." Dude, this sounds so good, man. Already, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, I really like Davina McCall, but I wouldn't... She's not an actor. I was quite surprised by her announcement, if I'm honest. I'm just wondering how big a part she's going to have in it. And can she act? But anyway, yes, it does all sound very exciting, and I'm loving the pictures that we've got. I'm really excited for this, actually. I mean, I will be with a lot of family on Christmas Day, so I don't know. It'll be on. Whether I'll actually get to hear it is another matter, but I'm really excited to come back and watch this when I get back home. It is really exciting. I mean, the fact that we assume less than hang on, where are we? Yeah, less than a week away. God, from seeing our new Doctor appear on the screen just feels quite surreal in a way. And the fact that Shooty will be, already getting his own Christmas special, it is really exciting. I'm very much looking forward to it. And I'm loving seeing Shooty on, the new Radio Times has got Shooty on the cover. Big Issue has got Shooty on the cover. SFX magazine have just released their issue with Shooty on the cover. It's it's a very exciting time, I think, when you get a new Doctor. So, and the little pictures they've shown us so far of this goblin thing, whatever it is, just look great, and the Christmas vibe, the snow, church. It's I've got the buzz for it, definitely.
Yeah, same. Yeah, and it looks to be not only a good episode to introduce the new Doctor, obviously being his first full length episode, but it seems to focus, obviously based on the title, around the new companion as well. So Millie Gibson as Ruby. So it looks like it's going to be potentially a little origin story for her, perhaps, and her introduction to the Doctor and so on. If we don't see that, of course, in this week's special, but it's got like a double whammy effect for me that's making me excited. It's got the full array of our new Doctor and companion in the full story, and also just the cozy Christmas vibes as well. Yeah, it does look very cool.
Yes. I think Russell probably enjoys writing for the companion as much as he does the Doctor. That's always the vibe I've got. If you look at the 10th Doctor and Rose, he always makes the companions strong characters. So I'm really looking forward to the introduction of Ruby as much as I am the new Doctor. To be honest, they just judging from the pictures, you can't tell really, but they look like they're going to have great chemistry. So I really hope that they do. They look like they're going to be a fun duo.
Indeedy. Yes. Okay, so that's the deets for you for the Christmas Day special. I can't imagine we're going to get much else between now and then. We might get a little teasery next time thing at the end of the third special this week, perhaps. But I can't see us getting like a huge trailer for it. I think it's going to be a bit under wraps until we get to see it, which has been pretty much the case for these specials, really, hasn't it? Although we've had a couple of trailers and specials in the run up to these specials, we've not they've not really released anything in depth. Certainly not for the episode we're about to review. There was hardly anything about that. So I imagine it'll be the same thing. We might get a little next timey bit, but yeah. Okay.
I hope we do. I must admit, I would like, because we, back in the day, Russell's era, we used to get those the boom coming Christmas and all this sort of thing. So I am hoping we get even if it's just a small teaser at the end. I hope we get something. Yeah,
agreed. Okie. So that's teed us up nicely for the Christmas special. But before then, we've obviously got a couple more specials to talk about, and our review episode for this week is, dude.
Yes, it's called Wild Blue Yonder.
Oh my God, where are we? Rose is waiting.
I will get you home.
How?
There is one hope. A mechanism on board the TARDIS called the HADS. Hostile Action Displacement System. If the TARDIS is in danger, it goes away.
Goes where?
Anyway, and it only comes back once the danger is gone. I turned it off years ago, man. I haven't run anywhere. Once been 3 years in orbit, I thought, turn off the HADS. But if the TARDIS is rebuilding itself, maybe click back on.
But that means we've landed in the middle of hostile action.
Yeah.
There's something on this ship that's so bad the TARDIS ran away.
Yes.
We go and kick its ass!
Donna.
Oh, Donna.
Ah, Donna. Classic Donna. That moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty. The wild, sorry, not the, let's be technically correct here. We don't want any people tweeting us about this. Wild Blue Yonder was broadcast on the 2nd of December on BBC One here in the UK on iPlayer, and then Disney Plus internationally, and it stars just David Tennant and Catherine Tate. And the synopsis is very short and sweet. The TARDIS, out of control, abandons the Doctor and Donna on a faraway, mysterious spaceship with deadly secrets in every corner. So the official synopsis, not leaving anything. Like I said, this one was really, we had no idea, other than there was a little tiny 30-second scene that we saw in the first Doctor Who Unleashed, they gave us a little exclusive clip of what was to come, but that didn't reveal anything at all. It was just the Doctor and Donna having a chat, really. So, the second special, dude. What are your thoughts then, out the gate?
Yeah, I'm really intrigued to hear what you think of this, because I haven't got a clue whether you liked it or not. And as with most episodes, this one has hugely divided fandom in their opinion of it. I got home in the nick of time to watch this. I mean, I literally I was rushing back, got the bus, got in the door, got a cup of tea in my hand, sat down, and it started. I was like, yes, I made it back. So I've been trying to watch all of these live as they go out. Because this one had been surrounded in so much mystery, I didn't want to miss this live. I didn't want to have to wait in case there were spoilers online and stuff. And I was so disappointed with this on a first watch. I sat there and I was really bored. I was just like, oh, this episode is so slow. I didn't know where it was going. I started zoning out. I looked up and realised I'd lost track of what was going on. Suddenly there was 2 Doctors and 2 Donnas, and I was like, oh, and I was getting really frustrated with it. I was finding it really tedious, to be honest. And it finished, and I was just like, oh, I didn't really, no, that did not work for me at all. I didn't get that episode. And I have to admit, mate, I feel what happened was I got caught up. I hate to say it, I got caught up on the rumour train. Because there was so much secrecy around it, and I'd heard so many rumours about who and what might be appearing in this episode. I kept waiting for other Doctors to pop up, and I know I shouldn't have thought that, because there's been no announcements about it, but I just heard so many rumours, and one in particular, I'd heard a storyline which involved Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi. Now, I couldn't see it happening, but the story kind of was fitting into what I was seeing on screen, so I was partly thinking, could it be true? Is Matt or Peter going to pop up any minute in this spaceship? And anyway, to cut a long story short, I did not enjoy this particularly on a first viewing. I didn't think it was bad, but it left me completely underwhelmed. And because I'd zoned out about 20 minutes in because I was bored, I'd sort of not really followed what was going on. Suddenly there was 2 Doctors and 2 Donnas, and they were running around shouting at each other. But it had lost me, unfortunately, at this point. Thank goodness then that I do always give an episode a second go. And because I was seeing a hugely, mostly positive reaction to this. I put out a post on Twitter, and people were giving it 10 out of 10. And I was thinking, what the heck? I was like, it was terrible. What are people talking about? And I must stress here that I am not swayed by opinion. If I watch it a second time and I don't enjoy it, I will tell you. I will always give you my honest opinion. So I'm not doing a 360 here just because people have said they enjoyed it. But I did watch it again last night. And obviously putting behind me all that baggage that I brought with me the first time watching it, expecting Doctors to pop up and things like that, because it is a 60th special at the end of the day. Anything could happen. And in this one, obviously, there was nothing really that I think celebrated the 60th. So that I still stand by. To me, it doesn't feel like a 60th special episode. It feels like an episode that if it was, in the middle of a season, I would probably say, God, that was good. It's a bit of a sort of midnight, very self-contained, very, it's more about the atmosphere. So in that sense, and that's what I realized on a second watch, it is a good episode. And I watched it properly with no expectations this time, just watched it for the story. And I did enjoy it a lot more. I still find the beginning incredibly slow. It's a real slow burner. It takes too long to get going, in my opinion. But when it does, and once the other Doctor and Donna come in, and once I actually sat and started watching the performances, David and Catherine are fantastic in this. I mean, they really do deliver on both sides as the good, the Dr. Donna and the bad incarnations, these aliens. And actually it's a very nice little story as well, with them slowly taking over their look and voice, and the whole thing about being slow. And there was some very, very nice moments in it. So I enjoyed it a heck of a lot more on a second watch, once I'd gone into it with no expectations. My biggest gripe, mate, is that it just doesn't feel like a 60th special. It feels like a good episode of Doctor Who. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I think it's a good, decent episode of Doctor Who. It just doesn't feel like a Christmas special to me. So I'm a bit conflicted on it. I think you can probably tell I'm a bit conflicted. It, on one hand, disappointed me in that sense, but on the other hand, I thought once I watched it a second time, it was a good episode. I did enjoy it. So yeah, over to you. What do you reckon?
Okie dokie. So yeah, I mostly agree with you on that stuff, dude. I think as a standalone episode of Doctor Who with David Tennant and Catherine Tate, it was amazing. Just as a run of and that's what's weird about it, isn't it? If you were to just plot this, like say if Shooty wasn't coming into the show this year for Christmas and then his series, say for example that Russell announced that David Tennant and Catherine Tate, after these 3 specials, were going to have a series by themselves before Shooty, then you could absolutely see this episode slotting into their new series. It's definitely. It's like an isolated, and like you said, and many people have said, it's kind of like the episode Midnight, just with a bit more Donna, where it's got that very isolated, claustrophobic at times, sort of always sort of something is after you, that kind of vibe. It would have slotted in lovely to a new series of those 2, and that's the weird thing about it as a one-off separate story. It was really good. It had all the nice ingredients that you want from a quirky, strange, creepy Doctor Who story. It was all in there. It was really cool from that point of view. It just doesn't link in any way to the 60th stuff that we've seen thus far. So the Star Beast, that was very much I guess you could view that in a way as an isolated one, but that seemed to have a little bit more substance to it in relation to a wider story arc. Yeah. So that one, because that's set up nicely, the reintroduction of the Doctor and Donna and Donna's daughter and Sylve, and it's and then we got those questions that were asked throughout the episode, like why that face, and and it got you on that path, and then the unit thing, and then the mention of Wilf. It felt like it was part of a wider story. So I think it's going to be interesting when people review the steelbook that's going to come out soon that contains these 3 stories. I think it's going to be a lot of, it's all good, but the middle story just doesn't fit out of the 3, because I think the next week's one with the toy maker, although that's going to have its own little mini agenda as to why the toy maker's back and dealing with that, a unit being back with Kate and so on, I think there's going to be much larger implications for the Doctor as a character that's been fed from the regen from Jodie's Doctor through the Star Beast, and then almost leapfrog this episode and then go on and then through to Shooty, if that makes sense. It feels like it's more of a connected thread for those things, whereas this one, and I'm not going to say that it's by accident, because Russell obviously knows exactly what he's doing, but I think it's a bit of a brave move for Russell to say, okay, we're celebrating 60 years of Doctor Who. Not only are we not mentioning anything really from the surrounding episodes either side of this, but we're also not going to mention anything about anything from Doctor Who at all. It's a brave move on his part. He's basically said, look, we've got 3 episodes to have some fun with these characters. Let's not be bogged down by all the lore and all of the continuity and the canon and all that stuff. Let's just have a break from that just for a second and enjoy these 2 characters in an adventure. I think that's the kind of the motive for this type of story.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I think based on that, it's a strange one. It's going to be hard to put a score on it. Numbers are still buzzing around in my head just because of that fact. As a one-off, I really liked it. I thought it was really good, but I just can't see how it, how it fits into a cohesive story across 3 specials to celebrate Doctor Who. So, but then again, the Moff Bag went down this road a little bit. Do you remember when we were doing the 50th stuff, when you and I were reviewing all that, and we were talking about, when we had our catch-up last week, and we were talking about the comparison between the 50th and this year for the 60th, we were saying that it felt in the 50th that there was more stuff going on in terms of events and merch and all that stuff, whereas this year feels a little bit more like it's about what did we say? It felt like this year's more about sort of deep questions to be answered in terms of what's going on with the Doctor, and it's more story led.
Yeah.
So
it's
when
not so much into the sort of fan service, I suppose.
Yeah. So when we were going through the 50th, one of the big criticisms that came out of it, and certainly I shoveled a lot of criticism on the Moff Bag for this, was I felt like because it was celebrating 50 years of Doctor Who, we didn't see any Doctor Who prior to David Tennant. So there was, we didn't see any classic Doctors in any of it, no classic companions, none of that, you know what I mean? So it felt really weird to me that you're celebrating this many years of the show, but you're only showing like the last little nugget of that 50 years or 60 years. And, we got we got a little bit of that stuff with the 5-ish Doctors and, so those guys were in it to a degree, but they were sort of on the periphery. It was just, if you want to dive into the special features, you can see a little bit of that stuff. So I kind of have to give the same criticism to Russell, really. It's like, we're celebrating, and it's not like we can say, okay, but this is not a celebration of Doctor Who. This is just a quirky little thing that they're doing, for it. It's labelled as the 60th anniversary specials. So, in my opinion, I think that we should be including more things from the classic era into these celebrations. So that's the only kind of thing that I'm going to say about that. It feels weird to have a completely non-connected thing, not just from the story arc of these specials, but from all of Doctor Who. This feels like a brand new episode for a brand new series of David Tennant's Doctor. But anyway,
I'm gonna agree with you. I absolutely agree with that, because I know it's difficult sometimes to find the fine line between, like I say, fan service, but delivering something that feels like it was made for the 60th special. I think that's the problem that I have with the episode as well, is it doesn't feel like this was made for the 60th special. This feels like it was made for, the next season with the 14th Doctor. Or imagine if they made this episode with Ncuti and Millie. I think it would go down as a classic. You'd say, God, did you see this week's episode? It was brilliant with the two, 15 Doctors and Millie. It was great. But because there's nothing connected to the 60th anniversary in this episode that I can think of particularly, it just feels like a good episode of Doctor Who, but it doesn't feel like it should be part of the 60th, if that makes sense. So I agree with you there. I do. Like you said, stuff that is connected to the 60th so far with Russell's era has been like Tales of the TARDIS. That had the classic companions in, but again, it was just sort of shoved on the iPlayer, so it's there if you want to find it, but it's not part of the bigger picture. If you it is part of the bigger picture, but it's not part of the actual main show. I do agree with you on that score, and I think a lot of people feel that way, really. This felt to me like a script that maybe Russell had kicking around, that he thought, that's a good concept, I should finish that, and that's what he did. It doesn't feel like he sat down and thought, right, second 60th special, what am I going to do for this? That's just the vibe I get from the script, really. It just doesn't have that 60th feel. It just doesn't.
Yeah, no, I read you. Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way. So I think it's so I don't think Russell T Davies has a responsibility to give everybody what they want all the time.
No, and I like him to try new things. That's the other thing. I applaud him for trying something different and not making it all about, because we have come to expect, anniversaries to have classic Doctors, Dalek, Cybermen. I applaud him for trying something new and making it fresh. So there is that side of it. Yeah,
I think it's more down to how you personally view this stuff sometimes. Like if you can disconnect this episode from that sort of banner that's hanging over it that says 60th anniversary, if you can disconnect yourself from that a little bit, then you're probably in for a great ride to enjoy the episode. And let's be honest, it was a good episode. Let's decouple it a second from all of that stuff. In terms of a story, it had all, like I said earlier, it had all those ingredients, right? It's the doctor and the companion just plopped into a situation where there's something threatening happening. There's a monster or an alien or something going on. And it's a little bit cryptic at the same time. This definitely wasn't a paint by numbers episode by any means, was it? Because sometimes with episodes, you get the thing where it's like, okay, the director or the way it's written is literally drawing you a picture almost. It's like, right, join that dot to that dot. And sometimes it's very predictable as well. You can see what's going to happen. It's normally a case of the alien or the monster wants to destroy something or take over the planet, and the doctor stops him or them, and it's, it's all good. With this one, there were so many little cryptic bits that I was like boggled by it until the last 20 minutes almost. And what I mean by that is the other characters, which they labelled them as the not things, didn't they? The doppelgangers. Yeah. They called them the not things. I had no clue and still have no clue exactly what they are. Never seen them before. They're just there to kind of get off this ship, go to a planet or somewhere and start to, to mimic everything and take over sort of thing. So I had no idea exactly what they're from or whatever. But the other thing that was boggling my mind was the robot in the corridor. That didn't reveal that's purpose until right, near the end. It was the captain had set that up to very slowly, which is why it only takes one step down the corridor, every however many days or hours, whatever. That's the mechanism that's going to set off the bomb in the end. But the captain of the ship there's this banging sound on the ship, isn't there, throughout the episode? And you think, what's that banging sound all about? And the doctor doesn't know. And, it turns out that the captain had jettisoned herself from the ship to commit suicide so that the not things couldn't replicate her, which then meant that they could pilot the ship and all that stuff. So she sacrificed herself to do that while also setting up the robot to detonate the ship, sort of thing. But all of that stuff wasn't really revealed until sort of the third act of the episode, if you like, when it sort of ramps up and we get to that stuff. So the cryptic stuff was there as well. And that was really cool because it wasn't shown like in front of your face, like what's going on. There was no doctor sat there with the Sonic spelling it all out for you, with that stuff. It was the Doctor and the Donna also. And I love it when Doctor Who does this, is where you feel like you're trying to figure stuff out along with the Doctor and the companion. So it's not the Doctor saying to you as the audience, this is what the problem is and this is how we're going to fix it. Like we're all scratching our heads together, like what is going on? So from that point of view, I found it really cool. Really, really cool. And it does feel like kind of series 2 or 3 of Doctor Who with David Tennant, where, it's a little bit cryptic now and then and we're on adventure. So I like that point of view. Did you think those cryptic parts of it were fairly well done, or were you sort of some people, they get a bit head scratchy in a negative way. They're like, I want to know what's going on. Did you find that was cool? Or
I did on the second watch, because because it is an episode where you have to pay attention to really sort of understand what's going on. So a second watch, because the first watch it just lost me, mate. I'd looked at my phone and looked up and realised there was 2 doctors on the screen. I'd sort of lost track of what was going on, and I just didn't have any interest. By the time they were sort of working it out, I was just sort of wanting something else from the episode, and that's my own fault. I just got too caught up in rumours and stuff, which I never normally do. But I think because it is the anniversary special, and I was expecting anniversary things, I was just I just wasn't really concentrating on it. Once I'd realised I wasn't getting the episode I thought we were getting, I'd sort of gone. But second watch, when I was really getting into the actual story and the episode itself, I really liked all that stuff. That's what I mean. The second half of the episode really drew me in on the second watch, and I thoroughly enjoyed the stuff between the Doctor and his doppelganger. I loved in particular that scene you're talking about when he is trying to blank his mind with Donna and the evil Doctor's saying, what's that sound? And the doctor's like, no, you're not. I don't know. I don't care what it is. He's like, yes, you do. You want to know. You have to know. And it's like an itch that the doctor has to scratch, because we know the doctor just cannot, resist finding out what it is, So I loved all that stuff. The doctor giving in and, what is that sound, and what it turned out to be, which again, I didn't quite understand the first watch. I was like, well, so why is it going slow? What's the robot doing? And I liked all that stuff a lot more on a second watch as well, because I think that's the other thing. The first time I watched this, I was waiting for that robot to have some big reveal. I was like, is there something in it? Is the lid going to lift up? What is that robot? So that was sort of disappointing on the first watch, but the second time I got the whole idea of it being slow and it was there to confuse the doppelgangers and that sort of thing. And I did like that idea. And then it does, like you said, it all sort of kicks off. We've got, we thought Donna was going to get blown to smithereens. I thought that was a good moment when the doctor takes the wrong Donna. I really liked that as an end scene. And what I remember, mate, I have noticed that's the second time, well, in the first special and then again in this one, that's the second time we thought Donna was going to die. And which is worrying me, because I'm thinking, okay, so she nearly died. We thought she died in Star Beast. We thought she was going to die in this one. Don't tell me third time unlucky that she's going to die in the third, because I have got a bad feeling. I really don't want Donna to be killed off. And again, that's a rumor that's floating around, and I'm trying not to read into that as well, because it is just. So I don't know. It struck me that they do keep trying to lead the viewer into thinking that Donna is dead or going to die, and this one left it right to the last second as well, didn't it? You really thought, is she actually gonna, the ship's blowing up, she's still on it, it was right to the wire when the doctor popped back and saved us. So yeah, second act of this episode I thought was good, and I did like all the cryptic stuff. It did draw me in, and I thought, if you pay attention, which you really have to follow what's going on, it is quite a cool little concept, isn't it? This whole thing of confusing the doppelgangers and going slow so they don't understand it. And
it was cool.
The astronaut throwing herself out again was lost on me on the first watch. I was like, why did they do that again? So that was more clear when I actually watched it properly. I did love the design of that astronaut as well. It was like a sort of a seahorse or something, wasn't it? Like the skeleton. I really liked that.
Yeah, it looked cool.
I thought that was a really nice, I don't know, just a very unusual design. So
yeah, it looked cool. Yeah,
so I did like all the cryptic stuff. As I said, it's just you had to really pay attention to get it, I think.
Yeah, no, agreed, dude. And some of the things looked very cool. Jimbo, the robot, he did look cool.
Jimbo.
Like you said, we expected some kind of thing, like was the lid going to flip back and Davros was in there or something, or don't want to go down that road, but you know what I mean. It's like we expected the robot to sort of come to life almost, and in a way, do you know what, dude? That's what makes, it's one of those little things that does make the episode very cool. Is that it kind of it doesn't go along with the traditional thing where, a few years back that robot would have come to life. And it either would have helped the doctor or it would have sacrificed itself. It would have been destroyed or something. So it's cool that it's just this lifeless thing that's been pre-programmed to do that stuff. And the reveal of that was quite cool as well. When they come out of the TARDIS area, when it buggers off and then Donna sort of lose her rag a little bit and they come out into that long... that's the other thing. Sort of metaphorically, the episode is quite funny in a way, in that the bulk of the episode is set in one long corridor, and Doctor Who has been mocked for decades about running down corridors, and it's funny that the bulk of it was just one long corridor. But the reveal was very cool when they come out into that corridor and they just see something in the distance. So the corridor is massive, isn't it? It's really long, and they just see something. They can't tell if it's a person or a robot or something. So that was cool. And then as you got closer to it, you saw the design. It's a kind of rusty old robot's been there for ages. So it looked pretty cool. But one thing I do want to just mention quickly before we move on, otherwise we will forget. The opening stuff was very cool with, when they go back in time, jump in the TARDIS and it's going a little bit haywire. and they end up in 1666 with Isaac Newton, don't they? He's writing his book under the apple tree and stuff. And then we have that thing, don't we, that sort of propagates throughout the episode where they've kind of adjusted history a little bit, haven't they? So the word gravity is changed now to mavity.
Mavity.
So that's the word they use, and they use it a few times after that scene with Isaac Newton throughout the episode where, you know, they mispronounce it to mavity. So I'm wondering if that's just going to be a word that's used moving forward, because it's seemingly they haven't gone back and changed it. They haven't gone back to Isaac Newton and said, oh, by the way, we think gravity sounds better. You should use that instead. It's weird. So that's the thing. But that was a cool little scene to kind of set up the timey-wiminess of the adventure, right? That was a cool little intro.
Yeah, I'm wondering if is that gonna be a big thing, or is that just a little joke that Russell's put in? Because it does get mentioned a few times in the episode, doesn't it? Mavity. And I'm like, is that just a little quirky thing that he's put in because he thinks it's funny, or is that going to have a much wider effect? You know, like little things change big things. You know, I get the feeling there's more to that, and I might be reading into stuff too much. I don't know, but I get the feeling that beginning scene is there for a bigger purpose that's going to play into the third special, the Doctor changing little moments in history like that. Haven't we had did he do something else? I've been racking my brain. I'm sure the Doctor changed something else that I remember thinking, I wonder if that's going to turn out to be something bigger. And I can't think what it was. I mean, he does mention at the end of this as well about superstition. He's like, I wish I hadn't done the thing with the salt. And Donna's like, why? And he says, well, because I've created a superstition at the end of the universe. And I thought, okay, so that's something that's obviously going to play into it. So he's changed gravity to mavity. Could just be a little joke, or it could, you know, be bigger implications. And this thing with the salt, they were just little moments of, what's that about then? And again, I like that. I really hope there is some sort of payoff with, you know, the final special. Or maybe it's going to go into Shooter's era. We don't know. Which reminds me, you know, the boss. We were talking about the boss in the Star Beast. You were saying you don't think we're going to find out in these specials. You think it'll be a Shooty thing. I think you're right, because when I watched the commentary of Star Beast with David Tennant, he didn't know what it was either. And Phil Collinson was like, yeah, you'll have to find out with everybody else. So that suggests to me that it's not part of David's special if he doesn't know who the boss is, unless he's just playing along. I don't know.
He could be.
So there's a few things, there's a few foreboding things going on, which I really like it when they do that in Doctor Who, because it just creates a sense of danger that you think, something bigger is coming, you know, something is building behind the scenes. So I like that. So the salt thing, Mavity, and I'm sure there was something else, I reckon are all going to kick off at some point.
Yeah, you get that feeling, don't you? That there are just little, again, cryptic things that you would kind of breeze over normally. But I don't know, because they were mentioned a few times, it's a bit like the Star Beast, where David Tennant's Doctor and Donna, he asks himself, and she asks him a couple of times, why that face? So due to the repetition of it, it's kind of planting that seed in the viewer's head, isn't it? That's probably something that's going to be revealed later. So yeah, you're right. It's because they've mentioned the word mavity a few times throughout. You do get that feeling, don't you? Is there something to that? But we don't want to do what you did, though, in the run up to this episode. No,
exactly. And I don't want to do that again. Don't get caught up in the rumours, people. It's because it sets you up. You know, you start imagining in your head what the episode is you want to see, and then when it's not, you just end at this point. So don't fall into that trap. I'm curious, actually, did you watch this? So I watched this on my own this time. Last week we talked about the fact that I watched the Star Beast with my friends and we all loved it. You watched it with your partner and she loved it. I was home alone watching this one this time. So what about you? Did you watch it with Nat, or did you watch this one on her own? And has she seen it? Because I'm intrigued to hear whether she found the stretchy big arms horrific or funny, because some people said it was meant to be horrific and they just were laughing and thought, well, it looks so ridiculous, it's funny. And some people were freaked out by it, like when Donna's bending her 3 knees. So, yeah, did you watch it with Nat? And did she think it was scary or funny?
I did watch it with Nat, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and she thought it was mainly creepy overall. She found it quite
Good.
a creepy one. Yeah, there was a couple of moments where she was laughing, mainly at Donna. And she liked, to be fair, she liked the episode overall. She's liked both of these now.
That's another good thing, because
yeah.
I was wondering, as a sort of more casual viewer, would she find it boring? You know, what's the casual viewer thinking of this? You know, are they bored because it was a slow burner? So that's good if she enjoyed it as well. That makes me think, you know, people would have stuck with it.
Yeah, she did. She did enjoy it. And also, I think because she's a casual viewer these days,
For want of a better phrase, you know.
Yeah, she wasn't bogged down by all the stuff that you'd seen online in the run-up to it. She wasn't bothered about, you know, is that, you know, is the thing that the Doctor mentioned in the TARDIS, you know, does that relate to 25 other Doctor Who episodes and these other characters? And should we be bothered by the fact that when the TARDIS, you know, shot off with the TARDIS in the door, she wasn't bothered by the fact that when it landed, there was a little glitch a mistake where the TARDIS landed and the Sonic wasn't in the door. And then in the next shot, when the Doctor walks up to it, it is in the door. You know?
What? I hadn't noticed that.
Yeah, so she doesn't care about that.
Just knocking off a point.
She doesn't even notice in the first place. And even if she was to notice, it just goes over her. So she enjoys this stuff from a, you know, I'm just watching it for the entertainment of watching David Tennant back as the Doctor and Catherine Tate. She loves that stuff. So from her point of view, she doesn't have the weight of the bloody world on her shoulders watching it as a I won't say a hardcore Doctor, where we are, I guess, but you know what I mean? Like, because the other thing to remember is that when you and I watch episodes, which is why we often watch them more than once, is that it's like a push and pull thing, where it's like we're watching it on one hand as a fan trying to enjoy it, which we do for the most part, but then the other side of it, we're watching it as a reviewer. So like, you know, are we meant to be, you know, writing this stuff down? You know, I've just noticed something, you know, do I need to write this down? Nope, because the next scene's just enjoyable. I'll have to do that reviewy note stuff on the next watch, that sort of thing. So for her point of view, she just loves the vibe of watching this as a new episode. So, but she found it very creepy though. Yeah.
And that's the thing I'm interested in. You know, when I say what does Nat think, or what do my friends think, as the in brackets casual viewer, I just mean somebody like you said who isn't like a fan that's going to be looking at every detail with all that baggage. That's why I'm always interested, you know, because I'd like to think that I'd like Doctor Who to appeal to a wider audience than just the hardcore fan base. I'd like to think that people who, you know, are not so invested in it can still sit down and enjoy it. So that's why I'm always intrigued by, in brackets, the casual viewer's perspective of an episode, if you see what I mean. Because I just would like to think that it's accessible to, you know, a larger audience, if you like. So that's good to hear. I must admit, I'm pleased to hear that, because, as I said, being a slower episode, I did wonder, will people who aren't invested in the show be switching off? Will they be turning over and thinking, oh, this is a bit boring, isn't it? And moving on, you know. So, yeah, I'm glad she stuck with it and enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was cool. And there were things like, there were a couple of moments where she looked at me and she was expecting me to explain a couple of things. But other than that, you know, she was just like, when the Doctor starts talking about the HADS thing at the beginning.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
You know, that stuff, the Doctor, you know, prevents the TARDIS from landing anywhere. You know, and, you know, if there's any sort of conflict, it sort of buggers off and then it went off to repair itself anyway and do all that stuff. When he mentioned the HADS and all that, she was like, she looked at her, out the corner of my eye, I saw her head just sort of spin round and look at me. And as I was about to tell her, like, you know, the Doctor's like, you know, it's hostile action displacement system, and he starts to explain it. So I didn't have to, but, you know, there were a couple of moments like that, but for the casual viewer, I mean, out of the 3 specials, this is probably the one the casual viewer is going to enjoy. If being bothered about backstory and lore is a thing that that affects your viewing pleasure, then this is probably the one that's going to bother you the least in that regard out of the 3 specials. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And also, talking of the bigger picture, so the TARDIS was reconfiguring and repairing itself. I was convinced, surely one small cup of coffee didn't do that. That's, I was expecting that to be part of the story, that actually somehow something had infiltrated the TARDIS and blown it up. I was thinking, surely the explanation won't actually be that it was Donna's coffee that caused that whole massive, explosion on the TARDIS console. Judging by this story, maybe it was, but I still, in the back of my head, feel like there could be a bigger picture there. But again, this comes back to the fan and us reading into every little detail of the show. My head just can't accept that Donna's little coffee did all that damage. So I'm expecting it to be like a great big story arc that actually it was this, and the toy maker was in the TARDIS the whole time, and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? So whereas I guess like Nat would just say, no, Donna spilled coffee on the console and it blew up, end of, So it's like that thing of just being able to enjoy the episode without looking at every detail and reading into it, I guess, is probably quite a nice thing, actually. But nothing I can do about that, I'm afraid. That's part of being a Doctor Who fan, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there were a couple of things as well that were nice to see as hardcore fans. So you had the cloister bell a few times, which was really nice. That's something that's a weird thing, isn't it? Whenever you hear the cloister bell, everyone goes nuts for that. Did you hear the cloister bell? Yeah, the cloister bell's back. But that was cool, though, to hear that.
It is your alarm on your phone. It's the cloister bell.
And it was also...
your ringtone.
A ringtone, yeah. It's a text message alert for me. Just one single bell. But there was a little moment, though, where you thought to yourself, right, are we going to get a bit more information on this? Because... They mentioned flux, didn't they? The Doctor mentioned flux, right? So, I mean, let's take our views about that storyline out the picture for a second. Fair play to Russell for actually giving it a heads up and a nod and something in the episode, because what's the best way to put this? Russell's not naive in terms of fandom. So he himself... the people who Bad Wolf Studios, all these people, just the general circle that he moves in as well, he would have been absolutely 100% clued up into the fan division and what people think about Flux and all that stuff. He would have known that. It would have been so easy for him to come in and almost, not intentionally, but almost be viewed as like the homecoming hero, right? Don't worry, Who fans. All that nonsense that Chibber's fed to you about the timeless child and the flux and all that lot, don't worry. I've sent it off into another. Don't worry about it. It's gone.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about that now. All that nonsense, it's all good. I've come in now and it's all good. But he hasn't done that, has he? He's actually acknowledged that stuff that was caused a little bit of a niggle within fandom and wasn't viewed overall that well. He's still talking about it, albeit briefly. So fair play to Russell for that, though.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things that a lot of the fans who didn't like the Timeless Child story kind of expected him to do, weirdly. And I thought he's never going to come in and retcon that. But I thought he probably just won't mention it. He'll just do his own thing. So it was surprising in a way that he has gone there and written that scene. But I have to say, as much as I don't like the Timeless Child idea, that scene was great. It actually made me feel something for it.
Yes.
I'm amazed to say it still gets my back up when I hear the line, "The Doctor's not from Gallifrey." That does annoy me. I can't lie, but because I think, as far as I'm concerned, he is. So, but it did. But I did feel something, and it almost made me think, okay, oh gosh, that vulnerable side of the Doctor when he doesn't know where he's from and you're lost. And I almost can get on board with, not necessarily the Timeless Child, but that idea that the Doctor doesn't know where they're from, whether he is or isn't from Gallifrey. Maybe, that's, it is important. I was going to say not so important, but there was emotion in that scene which actually made me feel something towards the Flux idea and, where the Doctor's from. And I thought actually it was a good scene, and hats off to David and Catherine for making it, giving it an emotional punch, because I think no offense, but when the Flux and that was in the Jodie era, it just didn't make me feel anything, really. And this did. I saw that the Doctor was lost in that moment, and it was as if someone had read his mind, read his secrets. It's like he looked hurt, that she would know all this stuff. It was very personal. So it was a good scene, and like you said, hats off Russell really for sort of going there, I guess, and even putting it in there, because it is something that he could just ignore and move on. This is a new era. If you want to believe it, you do, but we're not going there, and he did go there. So yeah, it was cool. It was an emotional scene, I thought that.
And I think it will lead. I think that's one of the. We were saying earlier about this is almost an isolated thing across the 3 specials. I think that's one of the things that will thread a little bit into the next one, because I'm looking forward to. Because they're keeping it shrouded in mystery, aren't they? This thing about first of all, why is this Doctor back, but also what's the Doctor been up to?
Yeah.
So, and they've got round this by saying, because that scene is pretty emotional, isn't it? Where it's not a tearjerker, but it does make you think, the Doctor's hurting at the minute, because they're aware that they've caused this problem with the universe. They say that due to Flux has eaten, 50% of the universe or something. And
that's something you've always said about as well. They never really addressed that, did they?
No.
When it was in the Flux in the Jodie era, it was just like, half the universe is gone, and it was sort of never mentioned again. And I know you've said a few times, well, is it back? Was it reset? What? They've never really acknowledged what happened there. It was as if the Doctor just carried on, which was a bit odd, really.
Yeah, a little bit. So he acknowledges that, doesn't he, and then follows it up with, and that's because of me. So you can tell that it's sort of eating him away a little bit, and then the doppelganger Donna, Donna says to him, you weren't born on Gallifrey, which I know beeped you off and probably would have beeped.
Well, it doesn't, because I like to think the Doctor's from Gallifrey, but I also have got to the point now where I've sort of made my peace with that. It's happened, it's there, and I think you can, with Doctor Who, when you start getting annoyed about something like that, you can just think to yourself, if you don't want to believe that the Doctor's the Timeless Child, you can just, in your head, say, the Master made it up. There are so many ways to get around it that it's not worth losing sleep over. So it does get my back up, but it doesn't bother me in the same way that it did back when, the sort of episode aired. And it was like, oh my God, he's actually done it. The Chibnall's done it. He's actually written that. And, there are a million explanations if you want to get around it in your own head. So I don't really get too hung up on it these days, to be honest. But I like to think that the Doctor is from Gallifrey in my own head. If they carry on with it and prove that he wasn't, I'll probably be a bit disappointed, but I won't crack up over it like perhaps I would have done back when Flux was there. And you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I read you. And it was cool that he followed through on that as well. Doctor Who magazine issue 597. Which was a few months ago now, I think.
Yeah.
In an interview on that, he did say that they would deal very slightly with the Timeless Child and the Flux thing in this particular
and I think
episode.
that's the best way to do it. That's the best way to do it. So like I said, you can put your own interpretation on it then. If they just deal with it in the way that Russell did in this scene, it's still open to interpretation. So there's no point getting hung up on it. You can just read into it in so many different ways to suit what you want to believe about the Doctor. I think that's the way to do it. Don't confirm stuff, and then it's just, it's like the half human thing. You can rewrite that in your own head.
Yeah, of course.
So that's why I hope I think Russell handled it well in that respect. That you can see around it if you want to.
But it was a nice little scene though. That sort of moment between, even though it wasn't the actual Donna. It was, seeing the Doctor's reaction like that.
Do you know the bit I loved as well was when the Doctor said, Donna said, "Where's your tie?" And he's like, "I took it off." She's like, "No, where's your tie? It's gone." I loved that. I thought, what a simple and brilliant idea. Yeah, just little things like that. Again, I just thought were a real nice way of showing the differences between the aliens or the doppelgangers, if you like, and the real characters. Love those little moments in that whole scene where they were sort of getting to figure each other out.
Yeah. There was also a scene that we're going to wrap this up fairly soon, but before we talk about the before we talk about the doppelgangers in just a slight bit more detail, there was one scene that I thought was, I can't put a word on it. At the very beginning, you know, where Donna starts to freak out a little bit. She
I think I know what you're going to say.
Rose is waiting and blah, blah, blah. Did you find it, again, I can't find, my initial thought was the word weird, but it's not weird at all. But I honestly can't put a word on this, but the doctor walks over to her and kisses her hand, places her hand on his chest, and it's almost like out of character for any doctor to do that almost. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like showing affection in a way that's kind of like you would do with your other half. Yeah. Or something like that. I'm trying very difficult to not read into it because I know there's nothing there. But that scene it did feel a little bit like ever so slightly out of place. And I can't get that out of my head because the logical part of my brain is like, yeah, that's just like the emotional side of things that's been written for that scene. There's nothing in it. But I don't know, dude. It just feels like 0.0001%. That's all it is. But did you feel that way at all with that bit?
A little bit, because they released that as a preview clip, didn't they? And as soon as I saw it, I thought, oh, it's just odd to see the Doctor being that affectionate, I think, towards a companion. And especially after the 13th Doctor, who really struggled with any sort of intimacy or, you know, showing any sort of affection like that. That scene that gets criticised with her not being able to respond to Graham. You know, so to see the Doctor go from that to this, I think is quite a jarring change, if you like. So, but the thing is, I do in a way like that because not particularly that scene, but I like the fact that this Doctor is much more emotional because it does, I think, distinguish him from the 10th Doctor. I said it last week, and I think even more so having watched this, that although David is still playing the Doctor the way he played 10, to me, he feels a different Doctor. He feels like the 14th Doctor. I don't watch him and think, it's just the 10th Doctor again, isn't it? This Doctor is different. He's more layered. He's definitely carrying more baggage. David is conveying that brilliantly. I think that this Doctor has been through the ringer since he was since he was the 10th Doctor. So moments like that, although they are a bit, like you could say, out of character for the Doctor in a way, I just think it's just showing David's 14th Doctor to be different. You know, like you said, other Doctor, you can't imagine the 5th Doctor doing that with Tegan. You know, she'd probably give him a good slap. So I think it's just showing that this is a different Doctor. He is doing things that you wouldn't expect like that. So I get what you mean. It's jarring, but I don't know if it's jarring in a bad way. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I think it's just showing that this is a different this is a different incarnation. He also has mentioned a few times how much he's, especially at the end scene, missed Donna. You know, he's like, I really missed you, he says, or something like that, didn't he? It's great to have you back, or something like that. And it's unusual to hear the Doctor being so open with his thoughts and emotions like that with a companion. So this is quite the 40th Doctor is emotional and he's carrying baggage, and I like that. Yeah.
No, don't get me wrong, it wasn't, I'm not picking it out as like a negative thing or anything like that. It was
I know, but I get you. It does it does make you go, oh, really? What's going on? Yeah, I get your point, totally.
Yeah, I just noticed it was one of those things I popped down in my notes, like, I wonder if there's anything to that. And then as soon as I thought that, I immediately thought, no, it's just But you're right, dude. It definitely feels like a very intentional change in a way that he's playing certain things. It's brilliant, really. I mean, we'll talk about them now anyway, because we're going to talk about the not things as part of it anyway. But the performance from both of them was very, very good, really good.
Excellent.
Yeah, as you'd expect from those two. And it's kind of weird with the Doctor because in some ways it's very much the same Doctor from those earlier series that we know and love. Like he's just been plopped back in and it's like no time has gone past, and he's playing it in a very expected way in a lot of ways. But you're right, there's these little moments where you think this is very different. This doesn't feel like the 10th Doctor at all. Like the way that he was, the way he kissed Donna's hand and held her hand and stuff like that, and the way that when they were having that scene talking about Gallifrey and that sort of thing. It doesn't. It feels like he's handling the darker side of things, and the more sort of the bits that are tearing him up inside a little bit, them up inside. It feels like that's more. That's leaning towards something different that I think is going to come up this week in this third episode. There is a tiny part of me, dude, that thinks that this isn't. This is some kind of bad thing going on with the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I can't shift it out of my head, but I feel like, and I'm probably going to be extremely off base with this, way off base. But
Go on.
I can't shift the feeling that there's going to be a reveal at some point in this last special this week, where the Doctor's not who he thinks he is.
Mm-hmm.
And something's happened, like the regeneration has been hijacked by something or someone. I can't shake it, dude.
No, it's funny you say that, actually. And again, I'm trying so hard not to roll into rumours and theories and God, but I'm picking up this same vibe. And it is a bit concerning, actually, because I have just fallen so in love with this Doctor in such a short space of time. You know, he doesn't feel like the sort of quirky, sort of almost cocky, if you like, 10 Doctor that we had. He's still got that fun side to him, but this Doctor feels much more broken to me. I feel like he's always just on the verge of holding it all together, like there is something dark inside of him that's just going to take over at any moment. Like you said, because of the way he's playing it. And I've had this foreboding feeling like that as well. I just hope that because we are spending such a short space of time with the 40th Doctor, we've got one more special before he's gone. I do hope he doesn't get, what's the word I'm looking for? Not wasted, but just, like you said, almost like ripping off the Master's mask. Oh, it was so-and-so all along. You
like
know,
a Scooby-Doo moment.
He deserves more than that. Yeah, I don't want it to be like a Scooby-Doo Doctor where it's like, oh, it was this all along. It wasn't ever, because he's been so good in these first two specials, and I've no reason to think he's not going to be great in the last one. That I'm so looking forward to Shooty, don't get me wrong, but I'm going to be really sad to see David go so quickly. He's honestly been, and I've always liked David, but I'm not, he's not my favourite Doctor. I've said that many times, but God, I've loved him in these two specials. Every moment he's been on screen, I've just instantly fallen in love with this Doctor. And I do see them as the 14th Doctor, not the 10th. So I hope it's, I share your fears. I just hope that it doesn't get sort of, what's the word I'm looking for, mate?
We hope that it's not been unjust with his Doctor coming back, because you'd hate to think that the little moments and experience that he has had with Donna so far, and Donna's daughter and Wilf and whoever he runs into next time in the third special, you'd hate to think that was all just a farce, all just a game that he's playing. Whoever, I don't know what I think it's because of the way he's playing these little bits, because it's extremely it's a reach. I get that, and listener, you're probably thinking, come on, Gary, this is a real reach, because when we saw Jodie regenerate, there was no kind of weirdness in that regeneration scene that made you think, hold on, that something's weird there. It was just a straight up regeneration energy, bosh, David Tennant's back, and that was it. But I don't know, it feels like something has happened, and it's not all as it seems.
That's a good way of putting that. I think that's it. That's what I'm trying to get to. It's not all that it seems. I want this Doctor to be real. I want the 14th Doctor to be the 14th Doctor in the same way that the War Doctor is the War Doctor. They are that Doctor. Don't turn around and suddenly do a big reveal of you were never the Doctor all along. You were, that's it. You've hit the nail on the head. I don't want that. He's been so good as the 40th Doctor. He deserves to be the 40th Doctor. Because it's hard to believe, but we're already going to be losing him this weekend. As much as I'm looking forward to Shooty. I'm going to be sad to see him go just after 3 specials. I really am.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's not the case. I'm sure it's...
Well, it's funny we both feel it, though, because I've been having exactly the same feeling, and I've been trying not to listen to that voice in my head because I feel it's the fandom rumour voice again going, you know, I'm trying to shut that door. So, I don't know. But I feel it as well. Yeah,
but then at the same time, we did see that little clip, didn't we, of this episode coming, and it shows David Tennant with the regen thing going on. So he's obviously making his way out of the show ready for Shooty. If that's what that scene is. I mean, we had that red herring, didn't we, at the end of...
We've had that before.
You know, and he ended up throwing that regen energy into the hand in the jar.
Yeah.
So we've been down this road before. Yeah. So who knows? But...
what do you reckon his last line will be? Do you reckon it's going to be, I'm ready to go?
It's
going to be something, isn't it? It's going to be something like, I'm ready to go. I reckon that's my prediction.
Well, I don't know, dude. You know, it's like...
He can't say it again, can he? I don't want to go, surely. We can't have that again.
Yeah, I mean, it would bring that Doctor round full circle, wouldn't it? But yeah, his last line might be, and you all thought it was someone else.
And if it wasn't for you pesky kids, I'd have got away with it.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so, all right. So, getting back to the episode then, David Tennant's performance and Catherine Tate's performance were amazing when they were the genuine Dr. Donna and also as the Not Things. You know that scene where the Not Things got found out? So they were trying their best to be genuine, those genuine characters, and then they would be rumbled, right? And then their expressions would change to this kind of evil, kind of maniacal expression on their face. And David Tennant and Catherine Tate played that brilliantly. That kind of very non-human. I mean, visually, we had the non-human part of it, which the visual effects were pretty good for the most part. You know, when they had like the long arms and then they were being chased down the corridor and their faces were huge. Remember, they got stuck in the corridor.
Oh, yeah.
And their eyes were big. And then there was that other bit where they had like this sort of evil vampire teeth and they were chasing after them and stuff. So really, really cool visually as well that they played these other characters. And there was a scene where David Tennant, you thought it was a visual effect, but it was a double who had like folded himself in half like human pretzel, and they sort of superimposed David Tennant's face on the double's face and stuff. That the effects were okay for the most part. Like like the outside stuff with the ship and the corridor and how they made it look like miles long and all that stuff was really cool. But some of the effects when the Not Things were like stuck in a corridor and when they superimposed the face on, and also at the end when we thought Donna was going to die, as you said, they got engulfed by the flames and all that stuff. It looked a tiny bit off, just a little bit. Did you get that?
No, actually, it's one of my notes I was going to say before we'd
right.
sort of got it. Well, I thought a few bits looked a bit off, if I'm honest. The green screen and stuff, I felt at times was not great. The problem is, I think we are so savvy now to how things are made that we just spot them a mile off. You know, I think there was a time when you would have watched an episode like that and been blown away thinking, wow, look at this. But because we know how everything's done these days, technically, you know, with the behind the scenes shows, which I do love, of course, but you know, they just show us how everything's made. So when someone's on green screen, our brain just instantly spots it a mile off. When people are flying across the room, we know there's a wire pulling them. Do you know what I mean? We've sort of almost taken the magic out of it by knowing how all this stuff is made. So our brain just registers it so much quicker, I think. So instantly when they walked out, I thought, oh, CGI looks a bit ropey. But it didn't really. I mean, it looked okay, but it's just that my brain knows it's green screen and it just, I don't know. It just doesn't. I thought there were bits that looked a bit ropey, basically, but I think it's just because I know that my brain's telling me, green screen there, not very good. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. I know what you mean.
But there were definitely bits where I thought, you know, we keep hearing about the Disney money, don't we? And I kept thinking, really, is this where is the Disney money there yet? I keep hearing it's actually been held over to shoot his series, but again, who knows? I don't know. But these episodes have looked good. They haven't quite looked as filmatic, if that's even a word, as the trailer suggested. You know, when we watched the trailer, we were like, oh my God, this has had a ton of money put into it. Both these first 2 episodes have looked good, but they haven't, I'll be honest, either of them sort of looked as quite as good as I was expecting them to, given, you know, the money that we know has been ploughed into it, if I'm honest.
Okay. I thought they have looked really good for the most part.
I just mean, for the most part, that's what I mean, but they haven't looked quite as cinematic.
I get you.
Cinematic, yeah. Whereas I got a feeling next week's is going to blow my socks off. More so this week, mate, to be honest. I think just because so much of it was green screen. I mean, it's a bit like, an example would be like when they get in the little buggy and he's like, "You're calm, lady," which I thought was a nice little shout out to Thunder. But, you know, in my head, I'm sort of almost subconsciously just already picturing them filming that on a green screen. Do you know what I mean? You could just think, the buggy's real, so they've got on a buggy with a green screen backdrop. Like, my brain's just already thinking it whilst I'm watching the episode, and of course you watch the behind the scenes and that's exactly how it's done. So
yeah, true.
Yeah, it doesn't look bad at all. I just think it's that we're so used to stuff like this that, you know, it kind of, don't know, we pick up more on things if they're just slightly off. Maybe that's a better way of putting it.
Yeah. Read you, dude. Totally read you. And you're absolutely right about the whole thing pretty much being green screen, other than the TARDIS set, obviously, and that little room that they were in when they first walk out of the TARDIS. And then those little rooms where they're sort of moving like those plates from one shelf up to another one as they're having a chat, and the cockpit and stuff, which has obviously got green screen in the windows, of course. But they're like little self-contained sets, I think. But yeah, pretty much everything else, wasn't it, was the whole green screen. So you kind of
there was a lot of green screen in this, I thought.
Yeah.
And I've said many times I'm much more a fan of real sets and stuff. I just think you notice it straight away. So like when they walk on that TARDIS set, you know, you're like, wow, that's a set. You know, that looks amazing. Yeah. But you just spot green screen straight away these days, I think. Even if it is good. Yeah. You just can tell. Yeah. You know?
Of course, mate. Yep. What did you think before we wrap up then, what did you think to the very nice scene at the end when they land back in the alleyway to an Earth that's not the same as when they left? So that's a bit weird. But our dear Wilf is waiting for them. At
last we get to see Wilf, and wasn't it just... wasn't it just wonderful to see him? And his reaction is almost mirroring the viewers. He's so pleased to see the Doctor, isn't he, and Donna, in the same way I think we were just so pleased to see Wilf. It was a beautiful little moment, and it's so brief, but just so glad he's in it. I was starting to get worried because he wasn't in the trailer, and you know, and obviously he died very shortly after filming it, and I thought, you know, maybe they've had to cut him out, maybe the family didn't want him in it. I don't know. There's lots of things that could have happened, but yes, he's in it. There was a lovely caption at the end, wasn't there? Dedicated to Bernard Cribbins.
Yeah.
And it was just lovely, mate. Honestly, so good. I haven't seen Unleashed yet. As I said, I believe Russell said it's the only scene he got to complete. So I don't know if we're taking from that is all we're going to see of Wilf, because it sounded from what Russell said that they didn't get to film any more with him in it. So I don't know what will happen this week, because where we left them, Wilf, Donna and the Doctor are together, and it looked like they were just going into the TARDIS. But do they just leave Wilf behind in all that chaos? I don't know. I'm really intrigued to see where we pick up this week. I would love to see more of him in it, even if it's just one more scene, but I've got to prepare myself for that might be it. And if it is, I'm just glad he was in it, because it was just so nice to see him.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, dude. It was lovely to see, because we thought we were going to see him last week. Sorry, in the first special, didn't we? Because I
was convinced he was going to be in it. Yeah,
because they mentioned him a couple of times in the episode, and then at the end, the Doctor's like, "Let's go and see Wilf." So you think, it's going to end with them seeing Wilf, but we didn't. But It was lovely. It really was lovely to see him. And although it was sort of at the end of his time, it still looked like he had, a bit of energy there. And he was, he was very much, just that sort of big, just energetic feel and aura about him. When he starts to shout at the Doctor almost with excitement, he's like, I never gave up faith, and all that lot. And he's so good, and it was just so awesome to see him. And it's a real shame in one way that we're not going to get to see him anymore in Doctor Who, obviously, but in another way, he's done so many good things, including Doctor Who, across his life. And he had a good innings, didn't he, Bernard Cribbins? He was, it's not like he tragically left us at a young age. We got to appreciate all of his work and his life for decades. So in a way, it's almost like you kind of view it as a celebration of, of Bernard Cribbins in a way. But it's just a little bit sad, isn't it, that we won't get to see him in this next episode. Because, you're right. I think Russell does say that, we just didn't have time. He just wasn't well enough to go on and film, other bits that we wanted to do. So I think that's it, mate. Sadly, I think that's... Yeah,
if it is, if it is, it was a nice scene to have him in. According to Wikipedia, mate, he was 93.
Exactly,
mate. But like you said, when I saw him on screen, I genuinely didn't think, oh, poor old Bernard doesn't look good. Yes, he's in the wheelchair, obviously, but he didn't look really frail or old or ill. Or, he still had that, that fire in him, didn't he? Yeah, Doctor, you're back. And he was still giving everything. And I thought, gosh, you wouldn't have thought, oh, he died like very shortly after that, I believe. Yeah. And although I haven't seen Unleashed yet, I have seen a clip somewhere. Where did I see it? Maybe I saw it on YouTube. I've definitely seen a clip of him behind the scenes talk. Mate, I'm starting to think, have I seen Unleashed now? Maybe I was drunk. But I've definitely seen a clip of Bernard talking, in Camden, and he's just being typical Bernard Cribbins, really funny. He's like, oh, that David Tennant, and I just thought, he's just still full of life and fun and energy, as a person. Or at least that's how he comes across in that little clip I saw behind the scenes. So, and it definitely translates onto screen, mate. Lovely, just lovely.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, really nice little scene that. And then it leads into all hell breaking loose for the next episode. So everything's going like there's planes falling out the sky. And, out of everything, that's what really creeps my wife out, because she hates flying. She absolutely hates it.
Yes.
So seeing a plane come out the sky,
oh dear.
I saw her eyes go like dinner plates, massive wide, with this terrifying look on her face. I was like, yep. So that's what's going to happen next week. It's all going to kick off. So everything's gone to beep, it seems, since they've been away. Her husband and mum Sylve, Sean, they're not to be seen anywhere. Rose isn't around anywhere. So we don't know what's going on. But all we do know for next week is the toy maker is back for this week. Sorry. So
I keep thinking next week. It's so hard to get my head around the fact that it's literally a couple of days away. I'm so excited for this week's, mate. Honestly, toy maker back, and the regeneration shoot is going to be there. Saying goodbye to David already. I can't even quite comprehend it. And then I'm so glad, actually, the timing that we've then only got, is it 2 weeks until till Christmas? Is it? Gosh, that's hard to believe. So, but it's really nice, because it does feel like Doctor Who. We've had such a long wait, and it's finally back. And then, these 3 specials, quite frankly, have whizzed by. And so, I'm glad we haven't got too long a wait until we get to the Christmas special, because I feel like we're going to be needing more. And then after that, I don't know what the wait is until what series is it?
Well,
series 1.
Series 1, apparently.
Yeah, whatever.
Season 1.
But season 1. Till shoot his first series. I don't know when that's due to air, but I'm hoping it's not too long, mate, because just even though this week's episode was quite conflicting to me in many ways, I still loved it as a piece of Doctor Who. So I don't want to be saying goodbye and having big, long gaps, too soon. You know what I mean? So I'm glad the special's not too far around the corner after this week's, because I think we're going to need it. We're going to be left wanting more, I assume.
Hopefully,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, well, hopefully.
Yeah. So for next week, oh, God's sake, for this week's episode then, the
I
third
know,
special.
I'll keep doing the same.
Yeah, the third special. Everyone's back in this one. So Rose is back, Yasmin Finney, Sylv's back, Sean's in it. And then a couple of other names that I don't know are spoilers or not. I mean, it can't be spoilers because they've been released, but Nicholas Briggs is back, not as the voice of the Daleks, though.
Ooh.
The voice of something else. And also Ruth Madley's back as Shirley Bingham at Unit. We've got Gemma Redgrave, she's back as Kate, Lethbridge Stewart, and a couple of other people. So everyone's back. It's going to be a busy one, I think, this week. So yeah, look forward to that. But in the meantime, let's wrap this review up for
Okie dokie.
Wild Blue Yonder. Anything else on your notes? I've just got two very quick things, just a few seconds. First of all, I thought Murray Gold's music was different to last week. Last week we had, I felt like that was a return to form and felt very 2006-70, but just with a few different bits in there. This week was very different though. So there was a couple of really good pieces of music which were very creepy, which were really good, but not so much the classic, the older RTD era music, if that makes sense. But not bad by any means, still good. And second of all, we did get another piece of music, which is obviously what the title's based on. So the TARDIS was quite cool, playing a little bit of music. The song called Wild Blue Yonder in the TARDIS was pretty cool. So I thought there was a nice bit of kind of musicality to the episode as well. Have you got anything else on your notes?
No, I agree with the music, mate. I thought Murray did a good job of setting the creepy scene, and there was some nice little scores from him in this. No, the only other thing I got on my note is that I'm just throwing this out there. This could be absolutely nothing, but I have noticed a few nods. I just want to get this on record in case. I have noticed a few nods to the Eighth Doctor during trailers, and things like the Eighth Doctor's little piano sting in the theme has come back. The TARDIS, I don't know if you've noticed, has twice made that groaning sound from the TV movie. It was in this episode, and it was also in the Children in Need thing, that groaning little sound.
Yeah.
Which is, and there's something else. There's been three things, I think, that I've noticed that have just been thrown in from the Eighth Doctor era, and there are rumours of this. Oh God, I'm back on the rumour thing. Oh no, what's happened to me? But there are rumours of an Eighth Doctor spin-off, and I just have noticed these little things, these little nods to the Eighth Doctor. So I wonder if that could be a thing. But I've just realised I'm sliding down that rumour train again, so I'll shut up now.
Yeah, we have to be cautious of that. Going down that road.
I know. I don't normally. I think it's because I'm so excited by Who again. I'm just reading into all sorts of things.
Yeah. Who knows, dude? For the next week, Russell might be saving all this goodness up, all the old Doctors and everything for this week's final special. Who knows?
The giggle. Yeah.
The giggle. Yeah. Right. Scores on the doors. You to go first this week.
Yeah, because you're struggling, aren't you? I understand, actually, mate, because I think on a first watch I'd have been around a 6, something like that. I'm going to go with a 7.5. And the reason it's not an 8, I'll just quickly say, is because I think the first half is too slow. Even on the second watch, it takes too long to get going. It probably would have benefited from being 45-minute eps, to be honest. But once it did, I thought it was a thoroughly good episode of Doctor Who. And the other reason it's not an 8 is because it doesn't feel like a 60th special. It feels like a very good season episode of Doctor Who. So 7.5 for me.
Cool. Okay. So, yeah, I don't know still.
All right. A strong 7.5.
Right. So initially, my score's gone between a 6, 7 and an 8.5.
Right.
Pretty strong. And also a 6, which is still okay. But I'm going to go with a 7, I think.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a 7 out of 10 because I think a 7 is still a good score. It's still a good episode. And I did enjoy it. I think it was a great isolated story of Doctor Who. But I can't get it out of my head that it's just completely not part of the 60th stuff.
Yeah.
Bar a couple of little tiny pieces of dialogue between the characters, which didn't have an impact on anything. And hasn't really served up anything as a follow-on that's going to happen in next week. I don't think so anyway. So, yeah, I think a 7's a good score still. It's a good episode. It's great to see Catherine Tate and David Tennant doing their thing. Just felt like an old-school, mid-90 kind of RTD episode, really. And I think I scored Midnight higher if memory serves. But yeah, 7 for me then, 7.5 from you.
Yes, that sounds fair.
Not bad. All right then. Right, let's wrap it up there, dude, for episode 385.
Alrighty.
Thank you so much, Doctor Who fan, for listening to another episode of the Big Blue Box podcast. That was episode 385, and we gave Wild Blue Yonder a 7 and a 7.5, which is a decent score, I think. So we'll see what happens next week. For what episode, dude? It's the Giggle.
The Giggle.
Yeah, the final episode in the trilogy of 60th episode's anniversary. So we'll see what happens there. In the meantime, if you've enjoyed this episode of the Big Blue Box, if this is your first time listening, then make sure that you go on to follow and subscribe in whatever podcast app you listen to your podcasts on, so you won't miss an episode, at least for the next couple of months, that go out every week, every Friday, so you can enjoy all those. And we also do a monthly roundtable episode where we get all the writing team together and also chat about all the Doctor Who things. We're on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Just do a search for the Big Blue Box, or you can find links to those things over on our website, which is bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. And while you're there, you can listen to the episodes for free there as well. And if you want to check out all of the very, very cool articles that our writing team put out, we will review loads of Big Finish and various different event and convention roundups and all that stuff. You can go and check all that out as well. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my co-host channel over on YouTube. It is, of course, The Geek's Handbag.
Geek's Handbag, yes, and there should, if I can get my act together, be a new video out by the time this pod lands. So, looking at the Doctor Who Christmas calendars, which are lovely. So, go and check that out.
Indeedy, go and check out all the things. And until next time, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember,